Yeah, so the stream is now started over here. We're also live on X, so this way anyone that wants to listen to the recording or wants to tune in can join or listen to the recording. We have Lucas here from on YouTube. His channel is called Anunnaki Ancient Mystery, and he's put together kind of the famous kind of 7 hour compilation story of the entire timeline of the Anunnaki. And I think it's a relatively popular video. I've watched the entire 7 hour thing. I know you've also kind of trimmed it down into different parts in case people want to watch shorter versions of that. You can find it on Lucas's channel. I think it's a great overview and compilation of the beginning to kind of like end story for the Anunnaki. So yeah, please be sure to check out that video on Lucas's channel. Uh, Quick introduction of myself. My name is Alan Chan. My handles on social media are Stone Crypto. You can find my pretty much me anywhere if you search for Stone Crypto. And I've recently launched this project called Building Tension, which is meant to draw light to all things kind of related to Anunnaki, aliens, UFOs, reptilians, grays, the Matrix simulation theory, and a lot more things that are kind of driving us towards this building up of tensions that I think would be important for humanity to learn about. I'm trying to draw more awareness to via building tensions. So I'll hand it off to you, Lucas, for check out that video on Lucas's channel. Uh, Quick introduction of myself. My name is Alan Chan. My handles on social media are Stone Crypto. You can find my pretty much me anywhere if you search for Stone Crypto. And I've recently launched this project called Building Tension, which is meant to draw light to all things kind of related to Anunnaki, aliens, UFOs, reptilians, grays, the Matrix simulation theory, and a lot more things that are kind of driving us towards this building up of tensions that I think would be important for humanity to learn about. I'm trying to draw more awareness to via building tensions. So I'll hand it off to you, Lucas, for check out that video on Lucas's channel. Uh, Quick introduction of myself. My name is Alan Chan. My handles on social media are Stone Crypto. You can find my pretty much me anywhere if you search for Stone Crypto. And I've recently launched this project called Building Tension, which is meant to draw light to all things kind of related to Anunnaki, aliens, UFOs, reptilians, grays, the Matrix simulation theory, and a lot more things that are kind of driving us towards this building up of tensions that I think would be important for humanity to learn about. I'm trying to draw more awareness to via building tensions. So I'll hand it off to you, Lucas, for check out that video on Lucas's channel. Uh, Quick introduction of myself. My name is Alan Chan. My handles on social media are Stone Crypto. You can find my pretty much me anywhere if you search for Stone Crypto. And I've recently launched this project called Building Tension, which is meant to draw light to all things kind of related to Anunnaki, aliens, UFOs, reptilians, grays, the Matrix simulation theory, and a lot more things that are kind of driving us towards this building up of tensions that I think would be important for humanity to learn about. I'm trying to draw more awareness to via building tensions. So I'll hand it off to you, Lucas, for check out that video on Lucas's channel. Uh, Quick introduction of myself. My name is Alan Chan. My handles on social media are Stone Crypto. You can find my pretty much me anywhere if you search for Stone Crypto. And I've recently launched this project called Building Tension, which is meant to draw light to all things kind of related to Anunnaki, aliens, UFOs, reptilians, greys, the Matrix simulation theory, and a lot more things that are kind of driving us towards this building up of tensions that I think would be important for humanity to learn about. I'm trying to draw more awareness to via building tensions. So I'll hand it off to you, Lucas, for check out that video on Lucas's channel.
The Anunnaki is the Akkadian name, not the Sumerian name. The Sumerian name is Anuna. So when we go to Michael Heiser or another academia stuff, we hear that the Anunnaki are not real, or they are not beings and not alien races. Um, but the Anunnaki is an Akkadian term for the Anuna term, which is Sumerian. On those tablets, we can read that these first civilization, which gave us a lot of things, came from nowhere, from nothing. Actually, we have some not human entities exactly, not evolved ones, not the Homo sapiens. And from nothing, we arrive with agriculture, and the Neolithic period has this revolution in where civilization starts. And these people, the Sumerian people, said that they were created by the Anuna gods. And after we have the Akkadian Empire. And the Akkadian Empire said that they were created by the Anunnaki. When we look to those Sumerian or Mesopotamian tablets, we understand that they have started everything that we can see in society today. They have started economic way. They have started the kingship. They have started the priesthood. They have started school, education, and all structures that we have now in the world. So this connection between history, archaeology, can lead us to this another way of thinking, this revolutionary way. But science and traditional history or traditional teachings will never say to us that the Anunnaki could be behind the curtain and could be behind the government and all actions. The Anunnaki, I have to say, are mythological entities for those traditional science way of thinking. For us, we have jumped to another way of thinking that if those humans said that they were created by another entities, and those entities was before, even before humans walking on this earth, and we have received everything from those entities. So we can make this connection. When we look to the history of the world, we can understand what have started on that time and what is still running. Society is still running with all those pillars that have started on that time.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying. There's a lot of people from the scientific uh, background, I would say, that look at and view this type of research as kind of mythological. But if you, I mean, if you apply probability to some of the basis of this research and deduction, and you see that these ancient Sumerian tablets that are telling the stories of the Anunnaki, or what is that the actual term that you're referring to them at in Sumerian? It's Anu.
Is Anuna gods. It's
Okay,
just without the key, the
okay.
K-I.
So the Anuna gods, But you see that this story is the same story that's being told in pretty much all of the major religions throughout the world on all of the different continents. And then you realize that these religions that are spread out throughout the world on different continents are significantly older than at least any of our documented history that is covering means of travel routes. Like that, there just isn't any reasonable documentation that we can use to verify that there's individuals traveling from these different continents in an orchestrated and coordinated way that can be transporting this information from one continent to another. So based off of this information that we still have religions that talk about the same beginning, the same type of end, from this story of the ancient Sumerian tablets. Just going off of that alone, I think the probability is is probably not too low for a story like this being somewhat accurate and having some type of basis of truth and foundation built on top of it. But I think the topic of for to have humans kind of believe something that they cannot confirm through scientific evidence, empirical evidence, and proof about some type of being other than ourselves that has caused this type of evolution. You can call it, at least what science uses the term evolution. It's very, very difficult for some people to accept. It's even more difficult when you start getting into kind of the simulation theory that we were just talking about earlier, and how the not only is the story of the Anunnaki from the ancient Sumerian tablets etched into all of the major religions, so is the simulation theory. And if you look into the simulation theory, it's mentioned from all of the Abrahamic biblical texts to the Eastern Asian texts to some of the other texts throughout Africa and Latin America, Mesoamerica. It's all mentioned there. Like in Buddhism and Hinduism, they talk about samsara, this reincarnation cycle that never ends, pretty much, unless you break out of this cycle. And in some of the other religions, I think the Gnostic text, they talk about also some type of cycle or illusion that needs to be broken. So it's all of these things are referenced in ways where it's like, okay, it's a huge coincidence that thousands of years ago these scriptures, these religious scriptures, are aligning with like the first documented history that we have of man. And if you're looking at the probability of these happening, it's probably extremely low that there isn't some type of strong foundation to it. But if you combine these things, there's just a lot of people that cannot accept it. I've tried to talk about this to maybe some friends and some family members. Some of them get to the point where if they hear you talk about this, they get physically angry and emotionally angry. They ask you to immediately stop. And I find that very, very, I guess, interesting, but also at the same way like a sad if people aren't able to face reality due to a lot of the conditioning that we've been put through. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you have talked about a lot of topics, and I'm trying to organize my my mind now. Let's go just in on this part about family and friends that we can talk about those topics. I think that even to us, when we realize all those things and started our inner journey and our research, I think it is a great impact for us and in our lives when we realize that a lot of things that we have been told could be lies or could be illusions. And it's a great coincidence if a lot of religions talked about the same things. But uh, I like to observe how different religions sometimes put things on different perspectives in a way that it could even justify a conflict like we are seeing now in the world, and not just now but through ages. And it seems to me that we have not exactly um, one single responsible for all that, but a great war between gods. I don't like this pessimistic way of thinking that we are on prison and that we can't exactly uh, escape, and that they are watching us all the time, and it's like we can't be happy. Um, I don't like this pessimistic way of thinking because I think that life has a lot of different ways that we can see those kinds of things. So, if by one side, mythological stories uh, can be real history, on the other side, mythological stories can be very useful for understanding ourselves. Um, I think it's a double agent here, like mythical or real stories at the same time. And I think that this is property, and this is something that can happen in this. We have been calling on private before. Um, the term Maya, the term illusion, uh, it is from this type of thinking that we can observe these double agents, like the Anunnaki are real or the Anunnaki are just mythology. I think that this middle term between the two can help us to understand and even to talk with friends, because uh, actually things that we believe becomes part of our identity. And then once someone is related to some kind of thinking or religion, it becomes part of uh, the identity of this person. When we go to another way of thinking and demonstrate the other side, it is uh, a shock. It is very impactful that for that people, and maybe they want to beat us or want to run away. And I think that science and mainstream, uh, it's very hard for them to admit all those coincidences. I think that it is uh, the Anunnaki as a subject, as a topic, as a topic of interest. I think it is growing in the world, but I don't know if it is going to be mainstream in some way.
So you don't think it's gonna be mainstream, but have you seen it recently on like all of these top podcast channels? They're showing up on like Patrick Bet David, the PBD podcast, Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz. These are some of the world's top like English speaking Western podcasts. They're getting millions of views. They pretty much in a single day, a lot of these interviews are getting over a million views or close to a million views already. So you can see, like I was watching the another channel called the Y Files. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that channel. Um,
I just have listened, but not watch it yet.
Yeah, I remember just maybe 9 months ago, they were, I believe it was like 2 million subscribers, and now it's almost four. And a lot of this
Wow.
type of content is growing very quickly. You've seen it on some of your videos, right? Probably some of
Yes.
them just start blowing up in views. So uh, I think it's like you mentioned, it's growing, and I think it's growing relatively quickly. People are starting to ask questions, and I think probably the seeds likely that Zachariah Stitchin has planted. I think those are like the most powerful seeds that are seeding everything and helping really drive this expansion into exploring and trying to connect and understand, is this mythological story of the Anunnaki real? I mean, they're telling it tens of thousands of years ago, but it seems to also align with a lot of other things. But we cannot find anything else outside of these religious texts that are really old and ancient civilization texts that are even older. Outside of those, we can't find anything else to corroborate this type of information. And that that alone, for some reason, is enough to convince modern day researchers and scientists that need some type of empirical evidence that this is like a myth. If you're seeing like I used to work a lot with numbers, and I used to at least try to make money based off of data and analytics. If if I was to bet on this being real, I think based off of this information, I would have at least I would feel comfortable making some bets off of this because there's just a lot of corroborating information that is layering on top of each other that's telling similar things. So there is some type of data off of this. It may not be like scientific empirical evidence that we have, but all of this like storytelling throughout the world at all different times in all different languages telling the same type of story about similar types of beings and entities. Just like it would be very very weird for it to be that much of a coincidence. And then like nowadays you also have these gray alien creatures that are showing up all over the world for like since we've been able to document any type of video with these types of interviews. People are now describing these non-human entities in a similar fashion to what some of these tablets and stone carvings, like cave drawings, very very similar to some of these non-human entities, some of these gray alien depictions. So I think if you combine all of this information together, it's still too much to really say there's no connection. And I feel like there's a lot of suppression of this information going out there that's done deliberately as a way to steer people away from understanding. Like with all of these coincidences, how is nobody connecting the dots in the academic world? It makes no sense. It's probably similar to a lot of the censorship that is happening in a lot of um, these other industries where it's like, oh, if you try to corroborate this, then my thoughts are that your funding is pulled or your credibility and credentials are pulled. Um, we have heard some of these things as well happen in the past, and some of these things happen on non-human entity UFO types of topics. So I wouldn't be surprised in that. But what are your thoughts on that aspect?
I think that academia and science uh, will never connecting those dots because it is too much revolutionary. It can uh, blow the structure of the world that we know. One of the main prisons I think that people have is religion, and it's a prison inside another prison and inside another prison. Uh, because when, of course, we can be free from that, uh, and religion is not totally evil. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when we are inside a religion, we have those closed and traditional books and those closed and traditional lessons and ways of thinking. And normally we believe, and on this belief, we have to be fearful of God. And through this fearful of God, we are imprisoned, and then we can't think outside of it. So I think that this is the joke. This is the prison in which religion uh, keep us here on this samsara, as you said before. But I think, as you mentioned, those podcasts and those YouTube channels like Joe Rogan, I think that we are looking to a massive awakening, but it's a start yet. I don't know if we can say that our society is already awakened, but we are seeing a start of awakening. I think that when okay, there's a lot of people who watch those kind of interviews, like our interview here, and start to think different or to think by themselves or to start their own research. But when we look to uh, the great majority of people, I think that they think that this is a crazy stuff and those kinds of things can't be true. And I think they just watch it and they run away on the next day um, to work and gain our money and be, uh, as I can say, something like um, just living without thinking, and then a automatic way of thinking. But it's a start. We are starting to talk about those things. Those things is coming more and more popular, and I think that Sitchin is one of the first seeders of this thinking. There's a lot of people that comes to my channel saying that Sitchin is wrong. There's another kind of people that comes to my channel saying that Jesus loves me and I have to embrace the love of Jesus and go away from these fallen angels. Uh, I don't know. I hear a lot of things. Uh, but I can't understand how people can't connect those dots and how people can accept the the old things that we have been listening in our entire life without questioning anything. Um, I would say that uh, a part of people that comes to my channel that have studied this topic ask me real questions and real interesting ones, like is Marduk from ancient Mesopotamia really the same god Amon or Aben or Ra in Egypt? Those kind of questions. Is the Anunnaki the same gods of ancient Mesoamerica or the same of another gods in the world? And by myself, I think that I have to answer by myself. And I would like that people do the same thing. We can't just say that Sitchin told me in his books that it they are the same, Marduk and Ra are the same, and okay, it's the same. No, I think that we have to ask ourselves by ourselves, and then we can answer by ourselves, and not exactly through the thinking of others. And on those kind of question, I like to compare what uh, Sitchin says and what I have found on my search and what I really believe. And I don't know if I can say that the Anunnaki are exactly the same and only gods through all religions and through all history, but there's a strong possibility. We can't just look to similarities between the stories and the gods and the mythological stories that we read. We have to look to the differences. And there are some differences in every place that we can look. When we observe those differences, I think that we jump to another level to understand that no one has the ultimate truth, and we are um, we are infinite um, learners, and we have to research for our entire life without having certainty of things, but asking everything.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why this trend is growing is due to this huge shift since post-COVID of countries and populations and people not trusting their governments. And this lack of trust in the governments due to the collapse of the like this financial system. Some countries have had it already, but at least in the West we haven't really experienced this before, and then now we're experiencing hyperinflation. We're experiencing like a particular market, an economic market that is really already tough, and there's also a lot of information coming out about how the COVID kind of virus is like funded by our government or government funds, U.S. government funds, and then now there's a lot of like speculation on whether or not um, this the COVID vaccine. There's a lot of speculation on the COVID vaccine whether or not it's actually helpful to a lot of people, and it was actually forced on the majority of humanity. So a lot of this information, it's almost like that red pill in the Matrix you're taking. Like, okay, they're lying to us about all of these things. We know they lied to us about a whole bunch of other things as well, but those things weren't actually important to me. These things are important to me. So the important things they're lying to me about, the non-important things they're lying to me about, can I even trust the government anymore? And it's kind of turning into this whole movement of people not trusting the government and questioning everything they're saying now. Looking into everything that they're saying to the point where they're actually finding out, many people are finding out a lot of lies that they believed were truths. Looking into these things, kind of like they've had this mask pulled over their face the entire time, and they finally decided to lift it up, and they realize lifting it up, everything is not as it was supposed to seem, and that they've been told. And this is why this movement, especially in the UFOs, non-human entities, and Anunnaki, the Elohim, trying to piece together all of these different stories to see if there's any types of connections. I think that's one of the major reasons why it's growing. And on the topic of how you're doing your research, I completely agree. You cannot just go ahead and take people's word for the truth, because then you fall back into the trap of what I was just talking about, believing in something else other than yourself, and that something else could have been lying to you the entire time. You need to verify everything. Like in crypto and the blockchain space, they say don't trust, verify. And you have to go and verify a lot of this corroborating evidence. And I've done the same thing. And it's it's very, I would say, enlightening to see all of these different connections throughout all of different time periods and all of different cultures that seem to overlap with each other. And on the topic of religion, I've come to the conclusion that all of the religions are one and the same. And they not only do they tell the same types of stories on the origin of man, but uh, the kind of afterlife and where you go to after things end. Those are very similar in the religions. Kind of the fundamental principles that you should live by in all of the religions are very same as well, and they they also describe similar types of entities with similar types of abilities, these gods. So those are also very same. It's almost as if all of the religions throughout the world are giving you a guidebook on how you should live your life. And it's just written in a different language or a different time period. Slight differences throughout some of these. So that's kind of the conclusion I came to on the religion, that, and based off of kind of the samsara simulation theory, illusion, that we're supposedly or theoretically a part of, this this guidebook is how you should be navigating your way through these through the simulation, the game. I've also come to the conclusion there's certain rules that you need to play the game by, or you should play the game by, in order to be successful, or in order to stay alive, or in order to not have bad things happen to you. There's some learning about a lot of these rules now, but I'll hand it back to you to kind of pick up the conversation from here. Like, what are your thoughts on kind of the awakening? Do you think it is tied to lack of trust in governments? And about all of these religions potentially being a guidebook for how we should be navigating our way through, through this existence of ours.
Well, I think that I am a kind of revolutionary person, but a peaceful one. And I don't know how we can bring those two things together. I think that the best way to bring revolution and also peace together is making videos, doing interviews, and writing books. Because I think that on this way I can contribute to the awakening of each people. Because each people has its own journey, and the time for people to awake is different, and this must be respected.
Yeah, I
But
want to
I
add
think
to that
that
real quick. I learned that the hard way when I tried to. I'm like, oh, this is important information. You got to know this. I care about you. Let me tell it to you. And then it's like I'm getting smacked all over the face, and and then a lot of people bring up this topic like of, it is not everyone's time just because it's your time to understand this. And you can't force this information onto people, and that's what I've been learning. And like you mentioned, I'm also trying to find a way to share this information with people. And I think my way of, and based off of my experience of sharing this information, is trying to find a way to gamify it and make it fun for people to learn this information. So yeah, I'll hand it back to you on the topic of, like, I think some people use the term ripe. So not everyone is ripe for awakening.
yes, not everyone is ready or in the correct time to awake, and I think that we have to respect this. I don't know if I if I by myself have learned this, because for me too is difficult. Sometimes I see different people fighting each other verbally, defending their own gods, without observing that those gods might be the same. I can't say that is the same. Uh, I just want to explain one thing. When you when you touch the term Elohim and the term Anunnaki, because there is some kind of confusion about those terms that for me Anunnaki and Elohim is are the one and the same. For some people, no. For some people, Anunnaki are the Nephilim, and the Nephilim are the sons uh, of the sons of God with earthling women. Uh, and then if the sons of gods are the Benai Elohim, are the sons of the Elohim. And then Anunnaki can't be the Elohim and the Nephilim at the same time, unless we are talking about the sons of the Anunnaki with earthly women, and the Nephilim could be the Igigi or the Igigi. Uh, the thing here is that maybe we are observing the same story in a different way. On the Atrahasis epic, and this is, let me say, uh, scientific information and the myth, Atrahasis epic, we can see the junior gods or the minor gods, the Igigi, um, organizing a mutiny uh, because they are tired of work, and the Anunnaki are above them hierarchically, and they decided to create humans to substitute the work of the gods. So traditionally, for Sumerian and Akkadian or Mesopotamian cultures, which is the first type of religious thinking or philosophical thinking in the world, we have been created to work for them. And in a certain way, when we look to our government, thinking that we can't exactly hold their information as true, we are kind of doing the same thing. I think that it is the time of revolution. But as I said before, I am a very peaceful person, and I will not be the person that will say, let's go and let's bring the world down. But I know that those kind of information, uh, kind of joking with the name of your work, is building tensions in the world. And build tension in the world is important because no one grows if the things goes ever the same. If nothing changes, nothing will change. When we have new perceptions, new ways of thinking, and a lot of different people saying almost the same thing in a different way, we have tension. And when we have tension, we have uh, grow. And when we grow, we have evolution, spiritually evolution, and in, in a particular way, and in a societal way too. Uh, but I don't know if it seems like a wave. Not everyone uh, takes this wave. I don't know what will going to happen with the people that are outside this wave. I think that we need to do our work to inform that people into a certain level. When we hit the barrier or when we hit the wall, I think that we have to put our guns down and say that we respect those kind of vision, even if we know that it's a kind of illusion, because as you mentioned, the simulation theory, I think that yes, it has certain rules. It has certain rules, and I think that some people have figured out those rules. We can see in the world, we can see some celebrities, and we can see in another in many different places that some people have understood those rules and are living according to those rules and are taking advantage of those rules. I
Yeah,
remember, sorry, I remember Jim Carrey. I don't know if you or many of you that are looking to us now have already watched it. There is an interview in which he asks about who he really is, because he could be anyone on those movies, and he was some kind of trying to understand who he really was. And I think that when we observe that we can play different characters in life, we can understand how many different layers of illusion there is until we find our soul, and how many different mythological beings and how many different Anunnaki existed inside of us. And I can say in different ways the same thing, because in our way of thinking we are similar to them, in our wars we are similar to them, in our beliefs probably we're similar to them too. So maybe the Anunnaki and another alien entities are just another layer of this illusion. I think that we are all in the same machinery of illusionism.
yeah. To touch on that topic, I believe that as well. I mean, there's a couple of different versions of how the simulation is structured, and I think that the two presiding versions of the simulation is one that we're all a part of the simulation, and we all have karmic consequences from the non-human entities down to the humans to the animals. The I believe the Gnostic text and the Abrahamic religions they differ a little bit from that. Their versions are only the humans are part of this kind of cycle and this illusion. But from based off the research that I've done, it seems more likely that all of the entities, and including non-human entities and human beings as well, are part of probably a similar type of rule structure. But obviously, we need more information to corroborate that. And also on the topic of like you're mentioning, bringing awareness to this topic. I told you originally I'm the type that's okay to fight for what I believe in, whether that's in any way. So that I believe that whatever is required, I will do. Kind of like what's required to fight for. But um, obviously, we'll try to stay within the doing kind of things that are within the bounds that are not going to get you into any type of significant, I would say, legal trouble or anything like that. But when you touch on some of these topics, like we mentioned earlier, and people aren't able to accept them, sometimes you can see very, very negative impacts. And I don't, like you mentioned, we need to do our best to inform and make them aware, but eventually when you hit that wall, it's best to like kind of respect it. I I've experienced not respecting the wall and then getting pushed back very, very significantly, just because you care about people, right? If you care about people, you want to make them aware and you want to help them, and you you just want them to understand what you understand because you believe this is like better. But not everyone is ready, and if you don't respect that wall, not only can it cause you like some type of backlash, I've seen that it can result in potentially negative consequences for the person that's just consuming the information. I believe if this information because we're not talking about all of the information here, right? This is mostly just the neutral information. There's a lot of very negative and dark information when you go down this hole that I have started to learn that and acknowledge that I probably won't share a lot of it here because I don't think people are ready for it. And if you share that information with some people and they cannot come to terms with it, they may do like bad things. Maybe not to other people, but even to themselves. So I think that's something that I've been trying to come to terms with, and I'm trying to get better at that of how to convey the information in a way that um, can help humanity and not hurt it, and also not receive any karmic retribution for doing something like wrong. Even though I'm trying to do the right thing, it causes some wrong after effects.
Yes, I don't know if there is a way to bring this information without making any hurt of anyone. Uh, I just want to say that I'm not a revolutionary guy that will say let's broke the world down, but because I don't want to be like a martyr. I don't want to die by the cause. I want to live for the cause. I want to bring information to people, and this respectful way that I said before is thinking in our friends and familiar and family. um it, for those who watch my channel know that I take the information and knocks to the wall until and don't stop until we put this wall down. uh, I'm a kind of artist, a kind of I think that through my videos I reach my soul. I reach what feed my soul, that is bringing information to people so they can decide what to do. And as I said before, I think that it is the time of revolution. Uh, but I agree with you. There are some negative information that we discovered that I just even like to think about those kind of information to do not bring this negative energy for me. I consider myself a very positive person, and I think this is this is good to be said here. This is one of the rules of this universe of Maya Matrix or any other word we can use. Uh, Positive feeling and positive emotion. Um, I don't know. Uh, just go to run, listen to good music. I like heavy metal and Mozart too. Drink water, uh, live a good life with your family and those that you love. I think that when we feed ourselves with good energy, it is a way of revolution because there is a lot of negativity outside.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about based off what you're just saying there to the rules. I'd like to talk about that because I think that can help with some positive change and is a more um, uplifting topic. A lot of people don't like to be in stuck in environments where they have no control. So I think sharing some of these rules, or at least what I believe to be some of the rules, may be helpful to some people. And I mean, maybe you can share like what you believe the rules are, and if they're the same. I'm sure that they have some overlap because what you just mentioned now about like your thoughts and maybe even manifestation. I believe that to be one of the rules of this Maya matrix simulation and game that we're potentially in.
I also like to this word game because it is very similar, and I love video games too. Um, I think that some things that I already said here can be put together to to try uh, to understand this puzzle, like the fear in religion, or be fearful of God, and the freedom we have in our soul. I think that that those different ideas can be used to try to realize those words. Uh, because if some religions are, in a certain way, religion is a prison, and we have to be fearful of God, asking Him to have a good life, for example. We are given to another entity outside of us the right to rule about our life. And when we look to ourselves, understanding that we are the responsible ones for our life, I think that it is it is another type of living life. And this type of living life, it is like we are uh, knocking or using the Nietzsche's hammer to those ancient idols. Those ancient idols, I'm not exactly saying the Anunnaki. I'm saying the ancient structure of world. Um, and this awakening now, I think that has too much about Gnostic teachings, about Buddhism, and I don't know if another Asian religions or Eastern religions. Uh, but I think that we have to try to figure out by ourselves what are the rules of the simulation. But for me, I have no doubt that we are in a kind of simulation. All religions says something about this, about the real life, about uh, this life here is a it's like a dreaming, and we are awake in Sunday, uh, or we are coming back here with some karma and with some things that we have to do, and then we have the law of dharma and things that we have to do. I think that i- it is a quite obvious that this life is not real. I'm not mentioning that it is unreal. I'm mentioning that this is not the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality, the real reality. But yes, in a kind of uh, in a certain way, it is real. We are here now, and life is occurring now. We have to live the now. There is a lot of uh, religious thinking about the now, and I think that we have even I'm not remembering the author, but we have a book. I think that it is the power of now. At least in Portuguese, it is called the power of now. Uh, and I think that we have to pay attention to now. It is then everything outside of us goes down when we understand that in the now we are the everything, the whole. And that's when we find the real God.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something while you were talking about that. I kind of just lost my train of thought. It was I wanted to go over some of the roles that I believe that I thought might help people. These roles already are well known in everyday uh, type of sharing from a lot of well-known figures. It's just that the way that they share it, they don't explain it to you as they don't tell you that you're playing a game and these are the rules of the game. They kind of just tell you, oh, this is one of the most important rules for success, or um, another way to say it, like I think the first rule. Are you okay with me sharing some of these rules that I believe would help people?
Yes, of course. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So I think of rule number one, and rule number one is independent of other rules, is you must chase after your passions. If you believe that we all come from a source, a creator, a a being of some sort, and this game is created uh, on behalf of the creator or the source as a place for to enrich us, then and then once you kind of finish completing this game, you kind of return to the source. Then essentially you are one with the source. And if you are one with the source and the source is one with you, the least kind of or the most important thing that you should be doing here is always kind of improving. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sent here to this kind of training ground or this game. And what you don't want to be doing is wasting your time. So essentially, the rule number one, the law number one is seek out struggle, or struggle will seek you out. That is how like the game is designed in my opinion. And if you kind of look even further down to it, the most ideal way to seek out the struggle is to chase your dreams. If you chase your dreams and you chase your passion and you do what you're passionate about, this is the optimal way for you to become successful in this kind of simulation matrix that we're in, because then you are choosing the struggle that you have, and the struggle that you have will be related to your passion, and you will have a higher chance of overcoming these struggles and becoming a better version of yourself if you're doing something that you're passionate about. And that's why you can see, and I have seen many times, there's good people out there. There's good people out there that don't chase their dreams. And if you don't chase your dreams, even if you're a great person, you will still experience struggle, because if you don't seek out struggle, it will seek you out. And preferably, you would want it to be on your terms than to be for it on the game's terms. Uh, so that's kind of like rule number one, and that is an optimal scenario for the creator and for you, which we are all part of the creator and the source, for you to be the best version of yourself. And being the best version of yourself is doing what you believe to is to create the best version of yourself. Rule number two is karmic laws. I think this is kind of common sense, or if not, you can look into karma, you can look into good deeds and bad deeds. This is also independent of number one, and at least from my kind of research, independent of number one means that you can have some person that chases after their dreams, and they're very very passionate about it. But let's say sometimes they do some bad things, and they're not liked among people, and they're still able to become successful. Why is that? You don't understand. Shouldn't this person have like karma come back to them? Just understand rule number two, which is karma, is also independent of rule number one of chasing your passion. So karma will play itself out on its timeline, just like the the results of chasing after your dreams will play itself out on a separate, on its own timeline as well. So you can be chasing after your dreams and still have bad things happen to you, or you cannot chase after your dreams and only have good karma and then still have internal turmoil. Oh, that's kind of what I've learned as well. And the manifestation, I'm not sure if it's a rule, but I know it's important. Like you did touch on it in certain ways, where like a lot of the of what you feed yourself energy wise, even through your own words, is very very important, and what comes out of your mouth is also very very important. I should actually do a better job at managing my words as well. And so you want to manifest a lot of positive energy, and you want to surround yourself with a lot of positive energy, because then this positive energy can enrich you and can empower you in a way that is beneficial. If you continuously surround yourself with negative energy, it's not ideal. Maybe it won't be bad and it won't hurt you, but it's not ideal. Obviously, more positive energy is better, in my opinion, or at least be careful with the words that you do because they can potentially manifest. Me and another one of the guest speakers, this other content creator who is relatively large, we were just discussing about how we both wished for success, right? And we both wished to, based off of our own individual passions and dreams, we worked very hard to achieve them, and at the same time we also like internally have told ourselves and committed to manifesting this dream of I'll do anything, I'll sacrifice anything to achieve this dream. And a lot of us along the way, at least him and I in particular, have lost a lot of family and friends because we have just personally manifested, at least the belief is we've manifested that we've give up anything to achieve what we want. And even though we don't say it out loud, even though now it's like, I probably wouldn't have done it that way, it's kind of already too late. We've already manifested that. So in the future, like what we'll try to do, and one of the things that we're mentioning is like, you know what, I'm gonna work hard for this, but I don't want to lose anything that I already have that's important to me. And yeah, there's things like that, or like whatever I do that I go after, I want to be proud of what I do. Or and another thing that my friend mentioned is like, he has all of this fame now, but it's very difficult for him to even accept this type of fame that he has. He feels unworthy of it. That's probably also a negative type of energy. And then he also manifests it all the time because he says it to himself, and then he acts on it by going out and then trying to cover himself up and then looking down and not be recognized. So I think words and manifestation are important. So those are kind of the three rules. And and I know kind of people, even myself at some points, have had difficult times accepting this potential game that we live in. But I think if you understand the rules of the game, it gives you control. And the reason why people don't feel comfortable with this topic is due to this feeling of lack of control that they have over your environment. And you can figure out the rules of the game yourself. That is a very difficult struggle that I'm sure both you and I went through. Uh, or you can, just listen to this interview and then try to dive down deeper and to start from here, connect some of the information, try some of it out. It'll save you a lot of time, and it will probably make you feel a little bit more secure and like, okay, so maybe there are rules of the game. I just need to learn the rules of the game, and then I won't be bumbling around. I think it also, like you mentioned, it helps to understand that everyone's development process in this game is different. There are, at least based off of my kind of breakdown of this research, there's probably like three types of players in this game. Player number one doesn't know they're in the game, or doesn't even care about how to learn how to play it. One or the other, or a combination of both. Then in this as player number one probably doesn't have a good experience in the game. They don't acknowledge the game. They don't understand the rules, so they're not having good things happen to them because they're not doing the required things to have good things happen to them. And they may not be bad people. They just don't know how to play the game. Um, then player number two is kind of like
I
learning.
think that
Yeah, go
a,
ahead.
a good term for this first kind of person is something that is being taken by life without think about life. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that.
No.
I
I
think
wonder
it's
if
a
they're
good
even
term.
like some people use the word NPCs. I don't know if that is the version of NPCs.
Yes, I was thinking exactly about that.
Yeah, maybe they're
Uh,
NPCs. Maybe
Please go ahead what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So they could potentially be NPCs. Maybe an NPC that some people refer to NPCs as soulless. Maybe there's NPCs with souls. I'm still trying to look into this theory of NPCs, so that I don't have any kind of thought on it yet of being potentially true. But that's player number one. Player number two is like they're starting to realize they're in a game and they're looking for the rules and they're starting to figure out success in the game. Maybe that's people like me or you. Um, not too sure, but that these are people that are like learning how to play the game already, and they're kind of doing well in the game, or they're figuring it out. They're on that path, but it's different. Player number two and player number one are completely different because player number one doesn't even realize they're in the game. Player number two is starting to realize or already realizes they're in a game. They may not just know all of the rules, but they're trying to figure it out and they're already applying some of it, some combination of that. And then player number three knows they're in a game, knows how to play the game, and likely, in my opinion, no longer wants to play the game and is trying to. By not playing the game, I mean they're not participating in the games, like all of these mini games. In the game itself, you have mini games like love, career, success, fame, fortune, glory, all of these different things that are like mini games in the game that some people still want to experience. And there's some people that don't want to experience those anymore and just are tired of the game and they want to leave. And by leave, I just want to make sure that people don't associate leave with like any type of negative aspect of like suicide or anything like that. From I want to deter anyone that thinks about that. Uh, from all of the information I've seen from all of the different religions, and um, you can consider the religions as a guidebook on how to play the game as well. And all of them say that suicide is the worst possible thing that you could ever do, and worse, even from my interpretation, than dropping a nuclear bomb on on the planet and killing millions of people. It's worse than that.
Totally agree with you.
Surprisingly, like if you don't understand why, I can explain my rationale for anyone that's like watching. The rationale is if you drop a bomb, at least you learn something from it. You will have like both will have karmic retribution, but it is an action that you're taking that will likely have negative consequences that could reverberate back to you, even directly in this lifetime. It's something that you can directly learn from, and there will be negative karmic consequences from that. For suicide, if you kind of align with the theory that you are one with the source, and the source is one with you, and you are put here to kind of enrich and train and grow through this learning process. You're let's say you're this is school, right? Let's just consider this is school or this is a training ground. We'll call it school just to simplify it. You're sent to school, and then on like let's say day day 5 of school, you decide to quit. And you're supposed to have an entire 4 years, and you just quit on day 5. You just wasted all of that potential future time, and now you got to start over again. And what it kind of aligns with rule number one. You have to chase your passions, you have to chase your dreams, you have to always be in a constant state of struggle, because struggle drives constant change and improvement. And you have just wasted all of this potential opportunity, and you're going to reset and start over. You've just wasted the source's time, the creator's time, and your time. And if the game is designed to kind of go on forever until you beat the game, you've just prolonged your time in the game, and this entire playthrough is now over. That is kind of like there's no learning from that. You've only learned from the 5 days. So that is the kind of worst type of thing you can do. I know there's people that consider these things and contemplate suicide. I've spoken to some people that are within my friends. I'm sure many of us have even had some of those thoughts, but they're not as strong as some of the people that are in those dark places. So I try to tell them. I have had friends and that have thought about this. I have had family members that have actually done this, which is kind of sad. And I didn't know back then that this is what I know now. It makes it even more difficult to understand. But yeah, breaking out or trying to like not play the game anymore and just like tired of the game is not that. Kind of when you're done with the game, you're tired of the game, and you're ready to leave the game. it means that you're ready to kind of enlighten yourself and go down the path of detaching yourself and playing all of these mini games of love, marriage, playing the side of good and evil, because there's a side of good and evil that are is happening right now. Like all of these things, you're separate from all of these things. You're detached. You don't have any tie to any of them. And if you can learn to control all of these things, hypothetically, if you can learn to control your emotions, all of your attachments, and to the material world, and you can learn to understand nature, the universe, life, death, um, which are all part of this game, you can break out of this game. There's many different interpretations of breaking out, and I'm not sure which one I subscribe to yet. Um, there's some breaking out of like literally becoming one with the source. There's some breaking out, uh, people talking about you don't actually break out, but none of the rules of the game actually apply to you anymore. You're still in the game, but none of the rules apply to you. There's multiple different theories. I'm not sure which one I subscribe, but essentially those are the three rules: chase after your passions, karmic laws apply, manifestation, and then there's three types of players. Is player one doesn't know they're in the game, player number two is figuring out the game and understands they're in a game, and player number three understands the game fully but no longer wants to play it and wants to beat the game. I'll leave it there and hand it
I
back to
think
you.
that I agree with you. And I think that you have to write a book or something like that with all this information because it can help some people. Um, I think that becomes one with the source. It means that uh, the person understands that everything here has both sides, has the good and evil, and not exactly this type of good and evil, but light and shadow, day and night, man and woman, and all those different archetypes. When we become one, we understand those different sides, and then just quit the game doesn't make sense because when we achieve, and I don't know we would when it will be possible for us to for each one of us to achieve the level 3, the person which lives and wants to get out this game. I think that get out this game
I
means
call
to
it
get out
beating
of
the game.
samsara,
Yeah,
ending the game maybe,
beating. Yeah, yeah,
but
that's something like that. Yeah,
winning the game.
yeah.
And I think that it means that we just get out the samsara, and to get out the samsara, I think that we need to first understand those rules. Uh, I don't know if there is a limit to those rules, but understand those rules and live those rules, and trying to not be so much affected with the things that happen to us. Control our emotions, and there's one thing that I think that it's being here for the others. I think that there's many prophets and enlightened beings that come had come to this world with this kind of thinking that we have to help others. I think there is no way to become one with the source without have compassion to the others. Uh, and this compassion to the others and becomes one of the source is even understand those beings, Anunnaki or other alien entities or non-human entities. It is understand what they did in our past and what they did because it was the best thing that they could do at that time. I think it is a way. And just trying to bring some light in what you said, I think that the third kind of person, I have remember a name. It is Jiddu Krishnamurti. I don't know if you know this name. Uh, he talked a lot about spirituality without religion. he talked a lot about how a structured way of thinking can imprison us and how
Hold on
freedom
one
can set us free.
second. I think you have to request to be a speaker again. I just realized you're not a speaker. It must have got off partway through on X. Can you request to become a speaker again?
For me here, I am appearing as a speaker.
Oh, okay. So
Uh,
you are appearing as a
if I
speaker?
click here, yeah, if I click here, it will be mute my microphone.
Okay, then I guess I will leave it as is then. Yeah, feel free to go ahead. Sorry, it says you're a listener here, but sometimes X glitches out.
So I was just talking about Jiddu Krishnamurti and how his teachings helped me to understand how the it's almost a double thinking, almost the same, but how the prison imprisoned us and how freedom can set us free. In understanding the prisons and the various layers of different prisons in which we live. Um, one of those things I think uh, that many religions talked about is our identity when we identify ourselves with something outside of us. And I think that uh, what what plays a crucial role for people to be on the first level that you mentioned is just the world outside, because everything in our life is saying just look outside, just look outside, uh go and try to gain money, go and try to take things, just sit down and watch some movies without thinking, without um, reflection, without critical thinking. And I think that uh, the awakening starts when we start to ask. And I think that this is the awakening we are living now. We are living now. Start to ask questions. Do not accept the things that are given ready to us without um, any kind of critical thinking. Um, I was preparing. I'm actually editing a video about this, in which I think that the three main pillars of those kind of illusion is work, school, and religion. And by work, I do not mean here what you said about follow our dreams. I mean the work like that place that you don't like and you just go and work hard and then you get home tired and just go to sleep without many times without looking to your family. School by what is given ready to us without stimulating our critical thinking, and religion with the same thing, but imprisoned us to give to another entity the power about our life and the power even to end this game. I'm saying that when we have to ask God to give us the eternal life, we are giving to, I'm not mentioning God as a source. I'm mentioning God as that entity in the Old Testament or in the secret books that has some actions, made some actions here, like punishing people and creating wars here. When we put our energy to that kind of entity, we are not putting energy in us and in the source. I
And
think that those three pillars we have to. smoke them out and put this wall down.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I think it's very important, like you mentioned, and also this part maybe a lot of people will have a difficult time with if you try to talk with them. You need to understand, like you mentioned, there's a lot of weird discrepancies with this benevolent creator and also with God that's mentioned in some of these scriptures and texts. Like there there's a lot of conflict when God is coming down here and killing people and requiring you to start wars with other factions and then force them to worship the one and only God, which is what that God was saying as themselves. And I think based off of a lot of these weird contradictions that an all-powerful creator shouldn't be showcasing, it should be drawing um, some type of curiosity in our thought process of like who are we worshiping, like you mentioned. Like you don't even know who you're worshiping, and if you just listen to what we're saying about manifesting, and you're sharing power and energy with another entity by saying certain words and sharing certain thoughts, and just like you would do for yourself, and by saying these things to yourself or trying to empower yourself, these words have meaning, these words have power. And if you don't even know and you're blindly following um, a an entity, whether or not the name may mean something to you, it's kind of very counterintuitive. You don't know what you're really tapping into, and I think this should kind of spur some type of thought process in people to question, like maybe you should understand what you're into. Like I have some friends that are also, not, um, I would say they are open to hearing me talk, even though some of them are not open, right? And so they are religious, and I would let them. They would say things like, the Bible tells me to, be ignorant of these things, or maybe not the word isn't ignorant, but I should follow and I shouldn't question. I'm like, oh, based off my research, you should start questioning these things. Like you don't even know who you're worshiping. Like a lot of the information I'm getting is showing that it's tainted. There's a lot of tainted information. The translations may have had some type of manipulation done to them, let alone the whole process of passing things down through thousands of years and trying to maintain the same type of translation through multiple different languages when some of these languages don't even have the same amount of words that we have today. There's going to be some type of loss in translation going on. Like I don't see anything bad that can happen from just trying to understand and learn. You don't have to act on it, just understand. And it it's a type of new thought process I think that they are, at least some of my friends have very difficult time to grasp, and they do trust me and look into the things I'm saying, but it's also like it's destroying their entire um, life's foundation that they've been building for themselves. So it's going to be a struggle for some people to question and start to look into certain things. Like you mentioned that the God uh, that's mentioned in some of these texts is like out here killing people, telling them to. You didn't mention the warring part, but he tells you to go kill that tribe and tell them to worship you. Like it doesn't really make any sense. The fact that you wouldn't question that is kind of weird if they're all powerful. So there are some discrepancies there.
I think that's why the Anunnaki topic is so important, because the Anunnaki are the start of these everything. The Anunnaki are the start of economics and the financial system. It is the start of school, work, religion, and we can see that something strange happens in our past. In one time, there is polytheism and the worship of various gods. And probably one of those gods firstly said that he was the number one. He was the not just the number one, but the only one. And the others are not meant to be worshipped. And then we can see a shift in history. Traditional history will say to us that there was a time when people started to believe in a single entity. But when we look to the texts, to the other side, not to traditional history, we understand that in some point, probably one of those entities believed that he needs to be worshipped above all others. And then this first god became the the first and the only one for a lot of people. And some centuries later, uh, another gods have the same idea, had the same idea, and our world became a battlefield of different gods. As I said before, there is nothing so close as this god is good and this god is evil. But the Gnostic texts gives us an answer of who is this God and what type of thing this God can do. I think that is very clear in Gnostic texts, and the Gnostic teachings themselves, by itself, says that we have to look into ourselves. Gnosticism, of course, that there's a lot of lessons out there, but Gnostic teachings says that we have to uh, understand the things by feeling them and not exactly by taking what they told us, and not exactly by reasoning, but
Mm.
it is a kind of feeling. That's why I think that meditation practices has a crucial role in all this,
Yeah.
to mind this game. Not exactly to mind this game into the rules, but sometimes just feel the rules, feel the game, uh, and continue inside of it. Because when you were talking about the quit, I was thinking about uh, my childhood when I had some uh, video games without the memory card. And then when we shoot the video game down, we lost everything and we had to start from the beginning on the next day. I think that this is a kind of quit life. And I think that quit life is not a good idea. It's not understanding the game. It's not living the game. It's not being in the game for us and for others. And I think that understand the game is another thing. It's everything that we were talking about.
Yeah, so I know we're going a lot longer, so we can probably start to wrap it up here because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I do have a question on, since you're familiar with the Gnostic text. Have you seen the difference between the Gnostic text version of the game and as well as the Eastern religions version of the game? Like, oh, one says that all participants are part of the game, the other says that only humans are part of the game.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
I don't
so
know if I could understand it.
yeah, I wanted to understand like on your what are your thoughts about the matrix simulation differences? Because right now I'm still trying to understand. There's two thought processes. One thought process is coming from like Eastern philosophy and religion, which is saying that in samsara all beings participate in samsara and all beings have karmic ties. And based off of this is how you kind of move up and down different realms. And uh, your, you know, whether or not you can break the cycle of samsara is how you're navigating through all of these different realms. But in the Gnostic text, it mentions only humans being a part of samsara. All of the other realms are not part of, this illusion, this material realm. But I'm not sure, is the material realm just referring to Earth and only humans are part of Earth and that would make sense? Or is the material realm the version of samsara, and that is then the Gnostic texts only refer to humans being trapped in this cycle? I wanted to get your thoughts on that, basically, if you had any thoughts to share.
I don't remember to have read anything that could bring this to light to me, but what I think is that all of us, humans, aliens, and animals, vegetables, plants, or the entire universe is part of the game.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that there is something important to say here. When we look to those ancient texts, it could be the Gnostic texts or the Mesopotamian tablets or even religious books. We have to understand many things. One of them is that it has been written a long time ago, and probably those people had different ideas than the ideas that we have today. The other thing is that there were many different copies about those texts.
Hmm.
Uh, Talking about the Mesopotamian tablets, there is no just one single text about the Epic of Atrahasis or the Epic of Gilgamesh. There is a lot of different texts uh, that even differ from one to another in different versions. So when we have a version that we can say that this is the Epic of Gilgamesh, we are putting the other tablets, the other versions um, outside, and we have to keep this in mind. Maybe sometimes we just can't figure out all things that the ancient text says because of the different versions and because of the different time span in which has been written in and our difference of type of thinking at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I properly answer your question.
No, you did. I think there is truth to that. There's always gonna The truth is difficult to find, and it may not um, always reside in some of the things that are available now. So you have to be open-minded to a lot of things and be open to.
Is there a truth? I don't know if there is a single truth. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
so
think
certain about.
that's also a difficult question to provide an answer to. But
Everything has both sides.
yeah, there's always a yin and yang, and there's always a balance, and we can see the balance and the tide shifting now, back in humanity's favor. So that's a good thing. And I want to just end off again on some. Uh, we didn't touch on too many negative things, so that's good. I think the positive aspects are it, we even though we're in a simulation, there's a way that you can play the game, and if you know the rules, which are one, chasing after your dreams, two, like don't break any of the karmic laws, or if you do, expect there to be consequences then, and kind of, you know you have to pay back your karmic debt. So if you understand that, and understand that it is these two laws are separate from each other, then I think you'll be good. Manifestation is a real thing, so be careful with what you say to yourself and what you say to others. And then uh, the last thing is the different types of players. Player one is the type that doesn't know they're in a game or doesn't know how to play the game. Player two is starting to learn how to play the game and is starting to learn about the game. And then player three fully understands the game and is no longer trying to play the game, they're trying to beat the game. And yeah, I think if you
I just
understand.
want to contribute with one thing.
Yeah.
Um, we have to be careful what about what we say about what we say is word. Word is thought, and thought is us in a certain way. So when we say negative things, or when we live negative things, or even when we think negative things, we are creating a reality of negative things. And this is not just about manifesting this into this world, but manifesting this into our world, in our inner world, in our mind. This is another layer of the game. The
Yes.
mind of the world, the anima mundi, as sometimes is said, and our internal world. I think that we have to be careful with our internal world.
Yes. Definitely agree with that. And on that, I guess I'd like to end it here, and then I really appreciate your time today, Lucas. I do want to share like your channel. I know your main channel is Anunnaki Ancient Mystery on YouTube. You have done a lot of great work on covering these topics that we've discussed today, and I think most people will probably know you for the Anunnaki movie, and that has had millions of views. I know you've changed it. I'm guessing you had to change it for a reason, but you've split it into multiple smaller parts now. It should be easier to consume, but for me, I was perfectly fine listening to the 7 hour movie. Um, but yeah, is there anything you wanted to say before ending it off here, Lucas?
I just want to say thank you, thanks for you and for all people that is watching now. Um, and just think that people have to be um to have good feelings and good thinkings. I think that this is I don't know, my final message. And just to say thank you for you to I'm very happy to be here. It is a different opportunity to talk with different kind of people. And for me, I live in Brazil, and for me it is very impressive how different people in the world are awakening, and how awakening uh, does not choose age or country. We are in the whole world, and we are getting this message to the universe too. So I want to say thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think agree with that in regards to the awakening and seeing people from all different aspects of the world. I appreciate your time as well. It's very refreshing to be able to talk to people, because when you're going on this journey, it's I'm guessing for a lot of people it's a solo journey because there aren't too many people joining this journey with you. So it's great to be able to chat with people, to kind of see what types of thought processes that we have, if we're coming to the same conclusion. It looks like many of us are coming to the same conclusion, and I think it does help to hear that, because when you're traveling on this journey alone, there's a lot of negativity that gets fed your way to try to steer you off this path and from understanding the truth, because there's a lot of people that can't accept it. And just like anything else, if they can't do it, if they can't understand it, if they can't accept it, they want you to be with them, and they want you to agree with them because it makes them feel better. And we're out here, we're learning to stand on our own 2 feet without any type of support. We it's a different type of experience alone than it is with people around you. So I very much appreciate you hopping on this call with me, Lucas. Um, I will work on getting these videos edited, and the shorts and like clips and some of these things edited, and then I will also send them over to you once that is done. Oh, I'm gonna end the X spaces here now, and then I'll end the stream.